Today, we will discuss the results of Rahu's Mahadasha in Chapter 55 of Parashara Horse Shastra. When we enter the Mahadasha, or the major planetary period of Rahu, we are stepping into a massive 18-year cycle characterized by intense material drive and sudden, unexpected shifts in our lives. This profound text immediately immerses us in the ancient astrological outcomes of Rahu's major period, establishing a solid scholarly baseline for our deep dive today. Right out of the gate, Sage Parashara absolutely does not hold back. He establishes that the absolute height of what Rahu can offer, when favorably placed, includes literal kingdoms, boundless enthusiasm, and incredibly powerful connections. It's a period of massive potential. Here is how we're going to rigorously deconstruct this chapter today. First, we'll look at Rahu's Antardasha within its own Mahadasha, covering verses 1 through 4. Second, we'll walk through exactly how to calculate these periods. Third, we'll dive into the highly volatile Venus Antardasha within Rahu. And finally, we'll synthesize everything we've learned from Chapter 55. Let's jump right into Part 1, Rahu's Antardasha within Rahu's Dasa, exploring verses 1 through 4. So, when a major planetary period kicks off, its very first subperiod is always ruled by itself. That means right now, we're dealing with pure, unmitigated Rahu energy. Looking at the source shloka here, Sage Parashara outlines specific placements for Rahu to yield its most spectacular results. The text specifically points to Rahu being placed in the signs of Cancer, Scorpio, Virgo, or Sagittarius. Beyond that, it highlights optimal house placements, specifically being in the 3rd, 6th, 10th, or 11th houses from the ascendant, or being associated with a Yogakaraka planet. What's really fascinating about this is that these specific placements represent the Upachaya or growing houses. When you combine those growing houses with signs where Rahu's ambitious, shadowy nature finds structural support, it creates the perfect storm to manifest immense worldly power. Let's break down the Sanskrit fragments a bit, because the literal translation predicts high political favor, enthusiasm, and domestic expansion when Rahu is well placed. Rajasamanam quite literally translates to the gain or acquisition of a kingdom. Rajasamanam points to honors, recognition, and cordial relations with the king or the ruling government of the time. And then we have Sukt Sampatim, which translates to a massive increase in personal property, domestic happiness, and overall wealth. The text explicitly promises that these highly auspicious results are derived right at the start of Rahu's period, provided, of course, that the planetary dignity we just discussed is actually met in the chart. Now, there are really two layers of meaning here, and we need to look at both. Astrologically, this signifies extreme material success due to planetary dignity. The 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th houses are domains of competition, career, and gains. These are areas where Rahu's unorthodox, aggressive energy absolutely thrives. But philosophically, it illustrates the soul's sudden, overwhelming thirst to conquer the material realm. You have to remember, Rahu represents the head of the dragon, the insatiable appetite. During this unmitigated Rahu period, your karmic imperative is not spiritual retreat. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's about diving headfirst into the illusion of material accumulation and worldly power. So what does acquiring a kingdom actually look like for us today? In a practical, modern context, acquisition of a kingdom or cordial relations with a king directly translates to things like corporate promotions, sudden wealth, and gaining favor with modern-day political or business elites. Let's say you have Rahu in Virgo in the 10th house. The onset of Rahu Mahadasha isn't going to give you a literal crown and a castle. Rather, it manifests as stepping into a CEO role, or maybe successfully navigating intense corporate politics to secure a massive government contract, or suddenly acquiring a vast portfolio of real estate. It's the modern equivalent of royal expansion. Moving on to Part 2, we need to understand how to calculate these Antardasha time periods using the Vimshatari Dasa system. The Parashara Horus Shastra is a highly rigorous mathematical text. To truly grasp Chapter 55, we have to know exactly how long these planetary chapters last. The Vimshatari Dasa system is based on a total idealized human lifespan of 120 years. To find out the length of any subperiod, it's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, you multiply the total years assigned to the Mahadasha planet by the total years assigned to the Antardasha planet. Step 2, you take that product and divide it by the total 120 years. And finally, Step 3, you convert the resulting decimal into exact years, months, and days. Let's see how this math actually plays out for Rahu. This brilliantly illustrates the math in action. Rahu's total Mahadasha period is assigned 18 years. To find the duration of the Rahu Antardasha within the Rahu Mahadasha, we multiply 18 by 18, which gives us 324. We then divide 324 by the total 120 years. 324 divided by 120 equals 2.7, so that gives us 2 full years. Now, to find the months, we take that remaining 0.7 and multiply it by 12 months, which equals 8.4 months. So now we're at 2 years and 8 months. Finally, we take the remaining 0.4 and multiply it by 30 days, which perfectly equals 12 days. Therefore, the unmitigated period of Rahu lasts for exactly 2 years, 8 months, and 12 days. It's incredibly precise cosmic timing.
Okay, part 3. This brings us to the Venus Antardasha within Rahu's Dasa, covered in verses 46 to 47.5.
This is where things get really intense. Venus and Rahu are considered friends in Vedic astrology, but let me tell you, their combined energy is notoriously complex. Because Venus represents our desires and relationships, and Rahu represents obsession and sudden expansion, throwing them together creates a deeply volatile period. It is heavily dependent on the specific dignity of Venus in your chart. When the shadowy obsession of Rahu fuels the sensual and material desires of Venus, the individual is going to experience extreme highs or extreme lows. There is almost no middle ground here. When we look at the fragmentary analysis of these specific verses, the contrast is stark. If Venus is associated with malefic planets or placed poorly, specifically in the 5th or 9th from Rahu with malefic influence, the translation literally predicts loss of everything, imprisonment, death, exile from the country, and great distress. It's heavy stuff. However, if Venus is favorably placed, say in a Kendra or Trikona, the results flip entirely. Suddenly, the text promises extraordinary gains, deep happiness from a spouse, and immense, undeniable wealth. The astrological meaning here hinges entirely on house placement. It's the dividing line between literal ruin in the hidden houses and the fulfillment of all your material desires in the angular houses. Parashara is very clear. If Venus falls into the 6th, 8th, or 12th house from the Lord of the Dasa, which in this case is Rahu, the native experiences physical distress, sudden financial destruction, and severe enmity or legal trouble. Conversely, placement in a Kendra, which are the 1st, 4th, 7th, or 10th houses, or a Trikona, the 1st, 5th, or 9th houses, unlocks the highest octave of this period. This yields luxury vehicles, immense comforts, and a hugely elevated societal status. Philosophically, this kind of extreme turbulence requires some serious grounding. The text doesn't just leave us hanging. It explicitly addresses this by prescribing remedial measures. It states that to alleviate severe distress, like danger from the wrath of the king or sudden severe health issues, one must engage in the worship of Goddess Durga and Goddess Lakshmi. This reflects a really profound philosophical truth. When the shadowy obsession of Rahu taints the worldly desires of Venus, the only way to rebalance that cosmic ledger is by appealing to the divine feminine forces. You need the fierce protection of Durga and the true righteous prosperity of Lakshmi to navigate the storm. Bringing this back to the 21st century, these ancient warnings and promises manifest as highly volatile life events. Loss of everything or exile can easily translate to devastating stock market crashes, intense legal battles, or severe government audits. On the relationship front, the Rahu-Venus combination often brings sudden, unconventional marriages, or, on the flip side, sudden divorces if the planetary dignity is poor. But on the positive side, a well-placed Venus during this time leads to rapid wealth accumulation, massive luxury lifestyle upgrades, and financial windfalls that seemingly drop out of nowhere. It's a roller coaster. Finally, part 4. Let's synthesize everything we've unpacked from chapter 55 to see the overarching narrative. Pulling all these textual fragments together allows us to see how perfectly this all fits. This timeline visually represents the sequence of Antardashas within Rahu's Mahadasha, showing how the raw ambition of Rahu is sequentially filtered through the unique karmic lenses of the other planets over that 18-year stretch. It kicks off with Rahu, a period of sudden ambition, raw material drive, and establishing a new worldly foundation. This is naturally followed by Jupiter, which steps in to bring wisdom, law, and expansion to Rahu's raw energy. Next comes Saturn, slamming the brakes, forcing karmic discipline, and often bringing hardship to test those very foundations you just built. And later, we arrive at the Venus Antardasha, where all those accumulated desires and material obsessions reach an absolute boiling point of extreme highs or lows. It's a complete karmic journey.
As we wrap up this textual deep dive into Chapter 55, it's fascinating to consider how these ancient calculations and strict planetary dignities manifest in our everyday lives. Sage Parashara didn't just leave us vague predictions. He left us a mathematically precise map of human karma. By understanding these unique placements, the rigid mathematical timelines, and the profound extremes of Rahu's Mahadasha, we gain a brilliant lens into the cosmic forces driving our material destinies. So, I leave you with this. How will the shadow of Rahu ultimately shape the light of the planets in your own chart?